The Island of Joy. The world of Bill and Judy was often a whirlwind of domestic chaos, a predictable yet exhausting symphony of suburban life. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind of evening where the air smelled faintly of laundry detergent and forgotten ambitions. Bill sat on the sofa, his face buried in his hands, letting out a groan that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. He looked up at Judy, his eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and genuine sorrow. He declared that this was horrible, truly horrible. Judy, ever the pragmatist, tried to offer a silver lining. She told him not to worry, assuring him that the McRib would come back, because it always did. But Bill shook his head vigorously. This was not about a seasonal fast food sandwich. He explained that Aerosmith was coming to town, and the tickets were already sold out. The disappointment was etched into his features. He reminisced about the old days, the golden era of their youth when they used to be able to score tickets easily and even sneak backstage. He asked a question that many parents often ask themselves in the quiet moments between chores. Why could they not still be those people? The answer to his question arrived promptly in the form of a loud, shrill cry from the hallway. A voice shouted for Mom. Bill sighed, realizing that their rock and roll days had been replaced by the demands of 3 energetic children. The voice belonged to their son, Brian, who was charging into the room with a look of pure outrage. He yelled that Tina had used up all of his new hair gel. Tina, their daughter, followed close behind, denying the accusation with a defiant shake of her head. Judy, stepping into her role as the family referee, called Tina down. She asked her daughter directly if she had gotten into her sister's hair gel. Tina looked up, her hair sticking straight up in gravity-defying spikes, and claimed she had not. When Judy pointed out the obvious state of her hair, Tina quickly invented a story about seeing a monster. Judy told her to stay out of her sister's things, then turned her attention to Brian, asking why he kept his belongings where a younger sibling could reach them. Brian's logic was simple, because she was stupid. This, of course, led to more bickering, with Tina threatening to make him cry again, and Brian claiming his previous tears were merely an allergic reaction to hand cream. As the children retreated to continue their battle elsewhere, Bill and Judy shared a look of weary affection. Bill asked if she remembered how cute they used to be. Judy admitted that she did not particularly remember, but she followed it with a heartfelt sentiment. She told Bill that she was still in love with him today because he made her happy. It was a rare moment of stillness in their hectic lives. Across town, the atmosphere was far less romantic. Fitz, Bill's best friend, was sitting on a sofa in a luxury apartment, staring blankly at a basketball game on a massive television. He watched a young player make 3 baskets in a row and remarked that the kid could save the Bulls this season. Then, with a heavy sigh, he added that he wished the player could save his marriage. Bill, who had come over to offer support, told him to try and forget about his divorce for a minute and just enjoy the game. But Fitz was spiraling. He asked his friends if he was a sexy man, mentioning that according to his ex-wife, Marion, their sex life had been less than stellar. The awkwardness in the room was palpable. Bill suddenly noticed they were out of chips and used it as an excuse to escape to the kitchen. Fitz, undeterred, followed him, complaining that Marion said he did not have a tender touch. He reached out and touched Bill's arm, asking if that felt tender. Back in the living room, Judy and their friend Linda were discussing the situation. Judy noted that Fitz was holding up Bill's enjoyment of the game. Bill, however, felt a sense of duty. He told Judy that Fitz was his best friend, and it was his job to help him through the divorce. He promised to stay as long as it took to make Fitz feel better, even if it took all night. As soon as Fitz left the room to find more snacks, Bill's face lit up. He celebrated the brief moment of peace, but Judy was more concerned. She insisted they needed to support him, suggesting they bring him dinner, so he would not have to eat alone in some crummy apartment. However, when they arrived at the address Fitz had given them, they were stunned. It was not a crummy apartment at all. It was a sprawling, ultra-modern penthouse with a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Fitz explained that he was just house-sitting for his cousin, but he invited them in. Bill was instantly enamored by the place. He noticed an indoor pool on a roof and a bar downstairs. When Fitz offered him a key so he would have friendly faces around, Bill accepted without hesitation. The apartment even had a pool table and a pinball machine. For Bill and Judy, this place represented a fantasy, a temporary escape from the responsibilities of parenthood. They jokingly referred to it as Fun Island. The next evening, they gathered at the bar in the building. Bill and Judy were enjoying the novelty of being out without the kids. They encouraged Fitz to start talking to women, but he felt guilty, as if he were cheating on Marion. Bill told him to stop thinking like that, reminding him that he was now a single, attractive guy. They decided to play a game. They would all take off their wedding rings and pretend to be single for the night. Judy went over to the bar to befriend a woman named Denise, hoping to set her up with Fitz. Judy lied and told Denise she was a single gal cruising for some fun. She pointed out Bill and Fitz, calling them hotties. Denise was skeptical, noting that they looked a bit dumb, but Judy played along, saying she liked them that way. The plan seemed to work. Fitz and Denise started talking, and although Fitz was incredibly awkward, Denise seemed charmed by his honesty. As the night went on, Bill and Judy found themselves caught up in the excitement of their secret identity. They felt like they were 1986 Bill and Judy again, before the mortgages and the 3 children. They spent hours at the apartment, enjoying the sauna, the steak dinners, and the champagne. It was a perfect bubble of joy. However, reality had a way of intruding. While they were enjoying their fun island, Linda was back at their house, struggling to manage their children. She left a frantic message on their answering machine, describing a scene of total chaos. Brian was refusing to come inside, and Tina had locked the door. Bill and Judy heard the message, but were too caught up in their escape to head home immediately. Bill joked that they should stay on Fun Island forever. The following morning, they returned home, trying to act as though nothing was out of the ordinary. They ran into Linda, who looked exhausted. She asked how their night with Fitz had been. Judy claimed it was crazy and that she had tried to call but must have had the wrong number. Linda, ever suspicious, mentioned that Fitz had seemed rough. Bill corrected her, saying that while some of it was rough, some of it was very tender. The cycle continued for a few days. Denise, who worked at the United Center, offered them floor seats to a basketball game. Bill and Judy were desperate to go, but felt guilty about leaving the kids again. They convinced themselves that they were doing it for Fitz, to support his new relationship. They even dressed up in their best clothes, claiming it would cheer Fitz up. But the facade began to crumble when Fitz dropped a bombshell. He announced that he was going back to Marion. Bill and Judy were horrified. They reminded him that Marion was often miserable and unkind, but Fitz insisted she had changed. He mentioned that they had a kid to think about. Bill, in a moment of hilariously misplaced honesty, pointed out that he and Judy had 3 kids, and they were not currently thinking about them. Marion herself appeared, having overheard their comments. She tried to be gracious, claiming she was working on herself and had even taken a class on how to be more fun. With Fitz moving back home, Fun Island was effectively closed. But then Denise arrived with another surprise, for VIP tickets and backstage passes for the Aerosmith concert. Bill was ecstatic, but Fitz stood firm. He told Bill he could not go because he was trying to put his marriage back together. Denise, showing her kind nature, was happy for Fitz. She then turned her attention to Bill. Since she was only going because she had a date, she suggested finding a new date. In a bizarre twist of logic, Judy suggested that Bill should be Denise's date. She claimed it was fine because their own relationship was just casual. The night of the concert arrived. To keep the ruse going, they had to involve their neighbor, Mac. They lied to Mac, telling him they were going to see Destiny's Child to get him to come along. The situation at the luxury apartment became increasingly absurd. Bill was pretending to live there, pretending to be single, and pretending to date Denise, all while Judy and Mac were there as well. The tension reached a breaking point when the children suddenly burst into the apartment. They had been told by Scotty Fitzsimmons that his dad moved back home, and they wanted to know why their parents were still pretending to be elsewhere. The truth came out in a spectacular fashion. Denise was shocked to learn that Bill and Judy were married with 3 children. The kids were hurt that their parents had pretended they did not exist just to have some fun. Bill tried to justify it, saying it was harmless, but the room was filled with people claiming they were indeed hurt. Denise, disgusted by the deception, decided to leave. She asked Mac if he wanted to go to the Aerosmith concert with her, and despite his initial hatred for the band, he agreed, hoping she could teach him to like them. Left alone with their children and the wreckage of their plan, Bill and Judy felt a deep sense of guilt. They apologized to their kids and suggested they all go home and spend the night together as a family. But the kids, seeing the plasma television and the hot tub, had a better idea. They decided to stay and enjoy the luxury of the apartment themselves. Bill and Judy, realizing they deserved to be punished, agreed to go home and think about their selfishness. As they walked out the door, they saw Linda one last time. Bill promised her that this was absolutely, positively the last time they would ask for her help. Linda, with a weary smile, replied that she would not have it any other way. The island of joy had vanished, but the chaotic, beautiful reality of their family remained, stronger and more honest than before.